So the UEFA Champions League round of 16 second leg games. Quite some exciting games as usual, right? It's the Champions League, so you expect the games to be exciting. Starting with the first game, the game between Sporting versus Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt having an exceptional season in the Champions League this year, winning the game against Manchester City, home and away against Inter Milan, and going 3-0 up in the first leg game against Sporting. So it was really a game that, everyone would be expecting Bodo Glimt, despite what happens in the second leg to go through. But Sporting had other plans, right? Coming from a three-goal down to draw that game. And I just felt the game didn't really get the media attention as it would have if it had been some other big teams, right? Which I get it. You know, I get it in a way, right? But I just felt it probably could have gotten some more media attention than it did, honestly speaking. Because not only did Sporting come back three from being 3 goals down in the first leg, but they ended up winning the game in extra time, 5-0 in total, right? Well, for that particular game, so 5-3 on aggregate. But again, kudos to Sporting, believing coming back and actually doing it, because we know it's not always easy coming back from a three go down from the first leg. Yes, you're at home in the second leg, you've got home advantage, but again, all it takes is for the team who are playing away to score 1 goal. Yes, good thing you don't have the away goal rule anymore, but again, all it takes again with 1 goal from the opposite team scoring a goal, it makes it a little bit harder. But again, kudos again to Sporting and kudos to Bodo Glimt for making it this far, right, in the Champions League and with the oppositions they had. I know some people actually said they didn't really have other competitions playing, currently, but again, winning home and away against Inter, defeating Manchester City, it's not easy. So kudos to them. Then the game against Chelsea versus Paris Saint-Germain. I would say that it's what you call a complete revenge, right? PSG with just the last cup to, I guess, have a complete season last season against Chelsea, and they lost the rebranded FIFA Club World Cup. Um, it felt painful, of course. Again, just that one game to, I think, have all the title for that season, but it didn't happen, right? And you know, demolishing Chelsea at home and then going to Chelsea's home and also doing the same thing again. That's what you call a total revenge, right? And I know this is a really new Chelsea team still rebuilding. They do have the Champions League to qualify for in the Premier League this season. Um, on the bright side for Chelsea, right, it's an opportunity to really focus on qualifying for the Champions League. They still have to compete with Liverpool, Manchester United, Aston Villa for the 2 spots, or maybe 3 spots right now for the Champions League. So it could be a blessing in disguise for them. Now they do have fewer competitions to focus on and probably more rest time for the players, because at this time of the season you need as much rest as you can. Again, depending on what you decide to prioritize as a team, of course. So you've got that. Then Manchester City versus Real Madrid, arguably the biggest what's it called game in this stage of the competition. Real Madrid, Manchester City. It seems as if it's come to become a regular, setup in this competition. I don't know how many times they've competed in the last 5 years, about 4 times or thereabout, if I'm correct. And being 3 goals down from the first leg, could a comeback happen? It's the game of football. It can always happen, of course, but at this point, if you are Manchester City, you've got to have your priorities in place. Comeback could have happened, but again, with that first half red card, um, Bernardo Silva received, being a man down and trying to come back from a 3 goal deficit from the first leg. It's virtually impossible, right? But Again, Manchester City tried, lost on the day. Again, it could also be a blessing in disguise for them, right? In the title race, I don't even think you still have a title race in the Premier League, honestly speaking. Yeah, some people would say they do have a game at hand. With this Manchester City form, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't capitalize on that game at hand. Still 9 points behind Arsenal. Let's say they win that game that they do have at hand. It reduces to 6 points, right? And they still have the game against Arsenal. But are they going to capitalize on that to close the gap against Arsenal? We don't really know, but it could really be a blessing in disguise for Manchester City. I know it's painful exiting from the Champions League again, in addition to the financial aspect of things, of course, exiting at the stage of the competition. So, I mean, it is what it is, but they do have the EFL Cup this weekend against against Arsenal, who, as I said before, they're competing against for the Premier League title this season, right? And it's quite ironic that both teams actually are in the EFL Cup final, because at this stage of the season, I mean, lesser games being played could also be an advantage, right? Because you've got more time to rest. Not necessarily the case, but again, you always see it that way. So at least as of now, in all competitions, Manchester City do have fewer games in comparison to Arsenal. Now talking about Arsenal versus Bayer Leverkusen, that's actually probably one of the fixtures in this round that, I mean, I wasn't really expecting much, honestly speaking. I expected Arsenal to go through over two legs, irrespective of what happened, what ended up transpiring over those two legs, right? Arsenal drew away to Bayer Leverkusen, and the second leg at home, they won 2-0. I mean, it's not surprising. Arsenal, despite the inexperience, again, some people might say inexperience in the Champions League because they've not won it, and also with this team still being young. Again, with them having played together, the cohesion in the team is really strong, right? But again, it's still a young team, right? So that's what some people might say, but definitely one of the favorites to win this competition this year. Looking at the squad, they've got the quality, they've got, I mean, arguably for me the strongest team in the Champions League this season in terms of quality and depth, right? All positions. I mean, it's just working for Arsenal right now. So definitely one of the favorites to win it. And again, don't be surprised if they go all the way to win it. FC Barcelona, Newcastle Football Club. I was expecting Barcelona to definitely win the second fixture, but not with a 7-2 scoreline, right? Newcastle, I don't know what was going on. Lots of errors, individual errors, and error as a team was positioning and all of that. And Barcelona did capitalize on, those errors to win that game. Barcelona being Barcelona, of course, you give them chances, they're going to take it, right? So, yeah, again, Barcelona, one of the favorites to, I'll personally say favorites to win it this year. And if they kind of keep on going this way, I'm taking all their chances, I wouldn't be surprised if they could end up winning the Champions League this year too. Of course, fighting for the La Liga title right now with Real Madrid. So again, they can go all the way. Tottenham, Atletico Madrid. Tottenham, some people, they've been saying the team with the worst form right now in the Premier League. Well, I don't know about that. You've got some other teams below them, right? But again, Tottenham lately with the draw against Liverpool, and I think it's the first win they've got this year, right? And despite it being a very high mountain to climb, coming back against Atletico Madrid also on their own end can be quite frustrating to watch, because again, today they do exceptionally well, and tomorrow they are struggling, right? But with the 5-2 win in the first game, I might be getting the scoreline wrong, though, but with a 5-2 win in the first game, it would be hard for any team to come back, right? Even the best of the best to come back. And good job to Tottenham, though, for fighting back, at least winning this game, right? Even if they didn't progress to the next stage. It wasn't just about the Champions League for Tottenham at this stage, but just their season in general, right? And then building up the belief to stay up in the Premier League, and which again I believe they're going to definitely stay up, right? With this form that they are gradually picking up, I see Tottenham actually staying in the Premier League, not being relegated, of course. Some people say they're quite too big to be relegated. No team is too big to be relegated if you don't take your chances. But right now, Tottenham are taking their chances, building that belief. So I see them staying up. Then another team who's been struggling, maybe not as bad as Tottenham or in the position of Tottenham, is Liverpool Football Club. Coming into this game, probably one of the games, or if not the only game, that no one expected what was going to happen, especially in the second round, right? Losing the first game to Galatasaray and having lost to Galatasaray earlier on in the season. But I would say Liverpool played their best game this season. Best game to me in terms of domination. I haven't really seen Liverpool dominate a game from start to finish. So, yeah, you might say Galatasaray didn't have the best of days, but hey, you can't take it away from Liverpool. From start to finish, they dominated the game. Now the problem is, can Liverpool build off of this, right? Again, Liverpool, they've won games over the course of the season, and sometimes you feel, okay, now it's the time that they start picking up momentum again. Maybe not as dominant as they were in this game, but you say, oh, they're going to start picking up momentum again, and at some point they lose that momentum. So the question is, can they actually build on this momentum and finish the season strong? Can Liverpool win the Champions League this season? Again, I don't know about that. If you ask me, honestly speaking, the only competition Liverpool they're in right now is the FA Cup. And for the next round, they do have a very difficult game against Manchester City. So the FA Cup is the only competition Liverpool are in right now. And I know the priority is to qualify for the Champions League. There is still hope, still a huge chance to qualify for the Champions League. They did drop the ball against Tottenham over the weekend, but let's see what they can do against Brighton, and with the next series of games they've got to play, or rather qualifying for the Champions League. Good thing, I think the teams in England, they might have 5 slots for the Champions League instead of 4. So, I see Liverpool definitely qualifying. As I was actually telling someone, Aston Villa might actually be the team that might suffer in this Champions League qualification process, right? Because might be wrong, but I feel Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester City joining Arsenal, or rather Manchester United joining Arsenal and Manchester City in the Champions League next year. But again, you never know till the season is over. So let's see. Then finally, the game between Bayern and Atalanta. Probably the game that even before both legs started, I would say everyone expected Bayern to go through. Maybe not the way they went through, right, demolishing Atlanta home and away, but Bayern were definitely huge favorites, and also one of the favorites to potentially win the Champions League this year. Again, we're going to see that. Home and away, they did it. In fact, they did it. Seems like they did a better job away, right, than home. But again, it is what it is. With Harry Kane getting his 50th Champions League goal, just as Mohamed Salah got during the Liverpool game. Also missing a penalty to Salah did, despite him having to retake it. But yeah, you have the teams you would expect to definitely go through in the Champions League quarterfinal to the next round this season, and it is what it is. Again, for those teams who didn't go through, time to go back to the drawing board and also finish the season strongly. And the teams that did qualify, let's see what's going to happen. Quite some exciting games in next round, of course. So let's see how it goes. Peace.